Right, quite a nice question here, starting this video on labor, and let's go as far as we can. Um, so the first thing here is we have stores, and then we have admin. So we know these are direct. I suppose you're thinking about this. You're thinking, Oyen, they quite clearly tell us what's going on here. This will always be the credit, isn't it? So we're debiting the expense and crediting the wages control account, and that's how this payroll thing works. We always debit the expense and credit the payroll account, and then when we finally pay at the end of the month, we debit the payroll account and debit the wages control account and then credit back. So the question here is, I suppose, what are operating overheads and what are non-operating? So I suppose you can accept that administration is a non-operating, and this is an operational overhead because at least it's to do with the actual goods. Here we're in admin. So in terms of stores, 10% is 150 plus the 1,500, which takes us to 1,650. So stores, which is an operating department, which is the operating department here, we will debit the code. The operating department here is 5,000. Debit that code with the 1,650 and credit wages control with the 1,650, right, on the 6th of May. And then in the admin, which is 15% of 5,000 times 1.15, and that's 5,750. What we now have here is that we will debit the code 6,000, 5,750, and we will credit the wages control account 5,750. Then we will just apply the same process really to the wood trimming on the 13th of May. So wood trimming 600 times £8.50. 5,100. So on the 13th of May, we're looking at 5,100 wood trimming. That code is 3022. You can see it over there. And again, you credit the 5,100. And then finally, 3021, 4,000. That's 5,800, isn't it? So 5,800. Yeah, and that's how you deal with the journal entries for labor. That's question 14. Great question in understanding how payroll works. I think it's really important to get this. This is what happens, say, a week before payday. This happening here. You will go debit wages expense, because this is for your income statement, 13,000, or you could break it up, doesn't really matter. And then you have the wages control account. It's a liability, a short-term liability for a week, because we hope to clear it by the end of the week. And so in that wages control account, we will put the following expenses, which make 13. And that's and this is the wages control account here. And that's why you see here you have the opportunity to fit in 7,000, 4,000, and 2,000. Yes. Now, what then happens is that on payday, you will now, if you like, debit this like any other liability account. You will debit the account and credit bank, or transfer to the relevant liability accounts that will just be waiting to be paid later on, if you like. But we clear out the wages control account. So let's pay that. So we pay 10,000. We pay 10,000, if you like, out of the bank. But it's debit, wages control, credit, bank, and then we do the same here for HMRC. Well, it actually doesn't matter whether you say and actually what's really happening is we're debiting the wages control account and putting this in a HMRC control account of 2,000, and then finally we we'll transfer this 1,000 to the pension liability for now until, oops, sorry, until you pay it. You have 1,000. Yes, maybe a pension liability of 1,000, and then that's paid maybe in a couple of weeks or something along those lines. It might have been paid out of bank. It's irrelevant, but that's how we arrive at A. Let me just charge my laptop. So all we're doing here is really a repeat of what we did before. We're just recording what we would have done a week early, which is what I said early here. Well, I should really have done them individually, 7,000, 4,000, and 2,000. So the wage expense and then the wages control account, which is what we're doing here. So let's do the first one, the direct labor, maintenance, direct labor. Let's do it via the dates. They're all on the dates, aren't they? And so you can see here, direct labor, 6,200, debit that, credit the wages control account, overheads 6,400. I will come back and fit the numbers in, credit that 8,200, and finally administration 6,600, credit that 8,200. So what does that mean? So let's just pick those numbers out as we see them. Here you have labor of 7,000, 7,000, 7,000, 4,000, 4,000, 2,000, 2,000, and those are your answers. And really, yes, well, I suppose, yes, we can come around and play around with this. And we'll come and let's do, I was going to say they look similar, but I think we can just do it. Let's just do question 16 as well, and so we can wrap up that set of videos. Look with the first one. Here we're told that we pay drivers' wages. It tells us you pay it, so we are crediting the bank, if you like, and we are debiting, of course, because this has gone into the wages control account. Remember that all this would have gone into the wages control account the week before. We're now paying. So we will be debiting the wages control account, which has a code of 6,000, and crediting the bank 1,000 with the 490 times the £15.50. 490 times the £15.50, which of course is 490 times the £15.50 is 7595. 7595. And that's the first one, right? Because it tells us clearly that we're paying. So we're going to be paying that out of the wages control account. The next question wants us to address this matter of how we deal with overtime. Now the question is, we know that you're paying them £15.50 an hour. So the premium, which is what the question is asking, which is what the question is interested in, must be the time and a half, because you would record the time anyway, the normal time, but that would be 15 and a half over 2. It's just the premium we want. Now the question is telling us you've worked 20 hours at time and a half. So that, when you multiply those two together, you get £155. Now we're just recording the expense, aren't we? So if you like, it's a direct expense. So we are debiting the expense of 155, but we are crediting the wages control account, right? We're crediting the wages control account because we're just stacking up, so to speak. We're recording the accrual, isn't it? Debit, expense, credit, this wages control account, eventually, which we will pay off. Really important to pick that up, there. Good. This one, they're telling us we have a store supervisor, so we know that's an indirect cost, so we need to look at that code. That code is 9,000. So in that code of 9,000, we record the £2,000 that is owed, but we also credit the wages control account, of course, because this, if you like, is the expense that we will be paying later on. Now, we will also have a scenario here where we are um, recording, I just do that 15.5 over 2 times 10 hours. That's what's happening here. You do that, you get 77.5. Again, I'm crediting my wages control account, but it's an indirect cost, isn't it? It's an indirect cost because it was done due to general work pressures that weren't quite work related per se. It's more for classification. And that's how you deal with these. So I think we'll end the videos there on labor because they are a set of videos. And start the next set on overheads.